Okay, everybody. Sorry about it not being a live video, but as usual, Facebook and Zoom have decided to play games and nobody is communicating. So I'm going to record the video for our final Crimson class and post it as soon as I'm done. And then you can let me know if you have any questions. If you have too many problems or just need a little bit of help, I will happily do a Zoom class and walk you through anything. Um, I would postpone the class until I figured out what the problem is. Unfortunately, I have classes next for the next 2 weeks, so it's either now or never. Either that or it'll be 3 weeks from now. Okay. I have already pieced three of my columns together. The only thing I have not done is this last column, which I think is the most not difficult, but it's the one that I think you're gonna need a little bit of help with. So I'm gonna piece this whole column together and piece it at least once to one of the other columns and show you how I line everything up. Okay, you are gonna have to square it up and cut off the ends. You know, there are dotted lines to cut off the bottom parts. I am not doing that until I'm all done. You can do it as you do the columns. It's just a matter of preference. Um, Personally, I'm going to wait until the top is completely done. I might even wait until I quilt it and then trim it up. But that's just how I'm going to do it. Also, you should have enough background fabric if you want to do another border around the entire thing. If you want, you should have, I think, enough fabric to do a smaller border, just to make it more of a frame and finish it. Again, that's up to you. And if you don't have enough, let me know. You might, you can always get some more. Okay, so before I go too crazy, I will warn you, okay? I've been quilting for a very long time, over 40 years. And this third one gave me problems. Not because it was difficult, not because it was done wrong, but because my brain wasn't on target. I had to unstitch one piece 3 times because it's a triangle to make sure I sewed it finally on the right side. So, word of thought is to make sure, or a word of advice is to make sure that you are in the right mind space when you start sewing these together, because if not, you're going to be like me and have a lot of fun with Jack the Ripper, and that's not fun. Just warning you. Okay, all right. So the reason I say that is because I'm going slow. I'm literally leaving everything on the board and only taking the piece off one at a time as I need to, because that's how I ran into the problem with this quad. Okay. And I am double checking with my pattern to make sure I'm doing it right, because I really don't want to do it over again. So the first piece, this is the very top of the quilt, is going to be sewn right here. There's nothing to line up or align for seams. Just like we have in the past, I make sure I do a back stitch here and a back stitch here. If not, some of these pieces will start unstitching as you're trying to sew. So it's easier if you make sure you do the back stitches first. And all of these are going to be open seams. I gotta wait for my iron to heat up. I can't believe I'm having problems with the video. And I started early. I was on for about a half hour trying to figure out what was going on. Oh, that's one of the reasons why I really need everybody's help and subscribing to my YouTube channel so that I can start doing all the videos in one spot on YouTube and not have to go through the issues with Zoom and Facebook. Facebook changes too many times, and every time they don't give you any heads up on what they're doing. So it's very annoying. Okay, my next piece. Um, this one is just going to be sewn right here. And just follow the pattern. It will make life so much easier for you. And trust me, please just take it slow because it's a lot easier to double check than it is to keep ripping out seams. Trust me. I know that firsthand. All right, I'm gonna again iron this seam open. The next one. Oh, wrong one. All right. Basically, all of this is gonna be cut off to make it square. Just go slow, slow and steady wins the race. All right. Now let's see what's the next piece. This is why I say you gotta double check. That's how it's gonna go, just like that. Originally, I had it this way, and I double checked and I believe it's going that way instead. Yes. So just take your time. Now, next piece is gonna go like that. It's very easy to get turned around with this quilt with all these diamonds and triangles, which is why I ran into the problems that I did before and I wasn't paying attention. My mind wasn't on it, so I missed it. It's much easier. If you just take one piece down at a time and just pay attention, double check. You know the old saying, kind of like measure three times and cut once. Well, this is check 3 times and sew one, because if not, you're gonna be ripping out a lot like I do. So next week we've got our happy-go-lucky mystery. The following week after that, we have our 6-pack party back roads. Got a lot going on. Oh boy. What are you guys, happy Mother's Day, by the way. What are you guys doing tomorrow? Anything fun? Me? I'm playing with Legos all day and I'm relaxing. I'm not gonna look at quilts. I'm not gonna look at nothing. I'm gonna relax and enjoy the day. Okay, this is the next piece, but whoops, I keep hitting the wrong button. I'd be interested to find out what you guys are doing. It's gonna go just like that. And how I am lining it up. It's hard to see because it's all pink, but there's a little triangle right here. And at the tip of that triangle should match up to the corner, the tip of this one. So I'm going to put it through the tip there. Put it through the corner here, the tip here. I hold it to the needle is, the pin is between my fingers. So I'm going to hold it upright, vertically. You don't want it off to any side, backward. You just want to hold it up. Because if you have it on an angle and try to pin, it's going to be off. So you want it vertically up and down straight. And then I'm going to put my other pin in before I take this pin out. And if you can do a 1/4 inch mark if you want, if that's easier for you, but the 1/4 inch mark is going to, if taking your time and piece these well, the 1/4 inch mark is going to end right over that dot, right over the place that you tried to pin it, right at the tip of that little triangle. So when I sew, I take my time and make sure I sew right on that tip, right on that dot. Now, if you're doing other seams that don't have the triangle and you put in your 1/4 inch mark over your seam, which is right at the tip of this one, this little sliver. When you're sewing those together, make sure you sew right on that line because you've already gone through the work of measuring out a 1/4 inch. If you don't sew over that line, it's not going to come out correctly. Your seams are going to be off slightly. So before I go anywhere, let's see if I can show you this. This is a good camera to show you up close. You see the tip right there of the triangle? That's what I use to measure up and align. Because it's the same on this side. Hopefully that made it easier. And as I'm sewing, I'm gonna make sure I hit that tip too. With my needle down before I take my pin out. Look at this. Point. So if you take your time and line up your seams well and just go slow, your points are gonna match every time. It's not hard. If you've done like a Lone Star, that's where I learned how to work with diamonds and triangles, and that's how I learned to make sure I lined everything up well. Damn, pretty. Oh, chef's kiss. When you want, sometimes when I do these classes, I could be lining these up all day long, but as soon as the camera comes on, it's like Blooperville and they don't line up. Oh well, I try. But look at that, isn't that pretty? Now I'm going to the next one. We're just gonna go here. So make sure, yeah. It's gonna be the same thing. I'm going in the tip of the triangle here, so I'm right at the point of the triangle, the top, and then in point here. This isn't a race, so go slow and master your skills. The more you do them, the better the quilt will be. And this is any quilt, okay? Any quilt is the same one. Most of what I learned, I've learned on my own. Through a lot of years of practice and practice and practice and more practice. Stop with my needle down on my seam before I take my pin out. Because as I told you before, sometimes just the taking the pin out is enough to get your seams not to match. So that's why I make sure the needle is down right in the seam before I take the pin out. Okay, look at, isn't that pretty? Let's see. My little points match. Lovely, lovely, lovely. That's a good day because maybe it's because I'm not live. That's why they're coming out crazy. Sometimes when I put the camera and we're live, it's like blooper bill. Come on, see. So, like I said, what are you guys doing tomorrow? Anybody doing anything fun? My daughter asked if I wanted to go out to breakfast, and I said no. Between doing all the traveling around for Chris's doctor, everything, I'm looking forward to just not doing anything. I just want to play Lego all day. I just want to enjoy a nice, quiet day. I did all my laundry already. I'm going to change my sheets tonight so I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. And I'm just going to relax. It's the little things in life. Doesn't take a lot to make me happy. But we've been doing a lot of running around, and we got a lot more running around. Chris had his appointment yesterday to be measured for his new prosthetic socket and leg. He's had this first one about 2 years, 2.5 years. And it's never, for those of you who don't know, prosthetics are not one and done. You know, the stump will decrease the swelling, it will, shrink. Weight gain can change the size of the socket. Very rarely, I don't think anybody ever does just one prosthetic and they're done, especially not when they first have their limb amputated, because it has to shrink and a lot over time. So, but it's not an easy process. It's a timely process. We literally have to get a prescription for it. Then you got to go and get casted, like literally like a cast, and measured. Then they make it, and once it's made, then we'll probably go through 2 or 3 or 4 more appointments for different adjustments and fittings. He'll have the first one, and then he'll go home and walk on it a bit and figure out that there's something else that needs to be adjusted or whatever. Even buying shoes to go on the prosthetic is not easy. So he has multiple pairs of shoes that are the same shoe, so that if they wear out, we don't have to go back and get things adjusted again. He can just put a new pair of shoes on. It's crazy. I learned a lot that I never in a million years thought I would need to learn. So yes, with all the running around, I am looking forward to relaxing tomorrow. Okay, this is our next piece. Again, this is the top, this is the bottom. So just so you know how we're putting it together. And there's nothing to line up with this one. I'm just gonna sit and see. But yeah, it's been a lot between vascular doctors and scans and um regular doctors and prosthetic doctors. It's been a lot. Got a new picture from my grandbaby Aurora for Mother's Day. They took her school picture and put it on a wood heart. And it's so cute. So, and then Erin got me another Lego set. So I like playing with Lego. It's relaxing to me. It's very, very relaxing. I also have to kit up one diamond painting kit that I got. It's really pretty. I have a ton of hobbies. My biggest problem is figuring out which hobby I'm going to do next because I have a lot. Okay. Next. This one I was going to go like that. Just have the pattern next to you as you're piecing. It's going to make your life. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this little piece on first, which is the very bottom. Then I'll sew that part. Now, for this one, I'm not going to bother ironing it open, see, because it's at the bottom. There's nothing else getting sewed to it. So I just ironed it down. Okay, now we can figure this one out. All right, I think it's going like that. Yep. It's worth double checking, triple checking. And if you look, you want to cut these in advance before you sew the columns. Um, at least for the top, for the columns. You can look on page 19 at item 36, and it will have a dotted line showing you exactly where to cut. Like I said, I'm gonna wait until the end. I might even wait till I'm done quilting it and just trim everything off. Okay. Here is our large last end piece. So, what am I gonna do? Well, I wasn't expecting it to fall, but that works. Now, what am I gonna do is I'm gonna lay this out on the table and show you how I pin everything to get these columns lined up. Doo-doo. Okay. Disregard my extra threads. Like I said, this one, right? I had to undo this seam 3 times the other day trying to put these 2 pieces on correctly. And just take my word for it. You don't want to do that. It's a pain. Okay. Just made it. Okay. It's good to me. All right. So this one needs to be re-ironed. Hold on. Let's see if that works better. And if worst comes to worst, we'll do it on this side, which is a little bit better folded. So I'm going to go into the point right there. And into the point there. This time I'm upside down, but I'm still holding the needle the same way. Okay, there's one. Okay. Into the point. And into the point. This is getting cut off. So I'm not going to be too worried over here. You could, I'm just not going to be worried about that part. Now here, we don't have any points. So we're going to take our handy dandy ruler. Put a 1/4 inch mark right over my seam here. And a 1/4 inch mark over my seam there. Put it right in the seam at the 1/4 inch mark. And right into the seam at the 1/4 inch mark here. I'm not gonna measure this one because all this is the triangle. So it's really easy if I look at it from an angle from the side. Put my seam together. And put a pin. Okay, now we got a ton of points. So I'm gonna go in the center point. And center point. Here again, I'm not going to make any marks. I'm just going to line them up. You can see the seam and the right from the end looking down. Same thing here. I'm not going to bother because this is just, it's not really, I mean, it's a point, but it's, if you want to be safe, you can. So, now we got another set of points. This takes the longest out of the whole process. It's just doing all these pins. But as much as I don't use a ton of pins, this is a project you're definitely going to want to pin because you want your seams to line up as much as possible. That's what's going to make this quilt go over the top. So just take your time and line them up. And you won't have any problems. You'll like it. If anything, this is going to give you plenty of practice. This quilt. Lots and lots of practice. Why do I use this pen, the same pen? Because this one is a thinner one. And it's easier. You'll get more accurate seam allowance with a thin pin than you will with a thicker pin. almost at the end. All I'm doing is marking 1/4 inch over the seam because there are no points. And then using that mark in the seam as my alignment. Here, I'm not using anything to line up, just the seams and simple. And finally, isn't a lot to line up here. I'm just gonna eyeball. All right, now let's get to sewing. Off with my needle down in the seam before I take the pin off. A lot of pins in this cord, so be careful you don't get stuck by your pins. Hold on, I gotta go back over that stitch. Dipped because I wasn't watching what I was doing, so it wasn't gonna be 1/4 inch. See. I don't know if you can see, but there's a purple mark where we tried to line the seams up, so making sure I hit that purple mark before I take the pins out. All right. Now, one last thing that I want to tell you, okay? If you have any of my, hold on, hold on, I dropped something. Any of the ladies that have done Hoop Sisters, Quilting the Hoop with me will know what this is. This is going to be your best friend for this quilt for ironing these seams, especially for all the longer seams. Okay, here's what I mean. I don't have any more of these, I don't think, but I'm sure you can get them. I forget what it's called. It's called a strip stick, and they have them all different lengths. What this does is it's got a cushioned curve, kind of like a ham. And the reason why this is going to be your best friend for ironing these seams open is because it's just enough of a lift. Let me show you that you can. Ah, come on. See, I'm doing this the wrong way. It's not on my mat, so it's a little bit awkward, but what this does is it's going to allow you to iron these seams open without ironing these other seams that you ironed open in a different direction. Because of this little dip and this little hill that we have, I can iron all of these seams open without affecting the other seams that I've done. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not gonna do that for you on camera because it's easier for me to do it over here where I normally sew, but I am gonna put this up so that you can see what it looks like. Now I gotta iron it, of course, but it's not looking that good because I haven't ironed it, but you get an idea. Voila! Isn't it pretty? I love it. I love this quilt. I've been having so much fun with it. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. That's it. I mean, other than sewing the columns together and then trimming it up, your quilted top is done. You can cut these and square them up before you sew the columns together. You can do it afterward. Or like me, I'm seriously considering doing it. If you're going to put a border on it, you've got to square them up. But if you're not going to put a border on it, like I'm not sure I'm going to. I haven't decided yet. If you're not going to put a border on it, I can put it on the long arm, quilt it all, and then just cut it off the excess. So, which is what I might do. All right. Happy, happy, happy Mother's Day, everybody. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely weekend. Whether you're doing it with families or friends or like me, sitting on my butt by myself. If you need me to do another Zoom call once I figure out what is going on with this, please let me know if you're having issues. I won't sew the last two columns together just for a little while in case you guys want me to show you again. But if you need me, you know where I am. Post your questions, your comments, and again, I hope you have a lovely weekend. I will be happy to do a Zoom call if you guys need me to. Bye. Happy Mother's Day.